I've been saying I was rich since I was broke. Yeah, yeah. It's a state of mind, you gotta know. Yeah, yeah. That it's gonna happen for sure. Had to take my time, take it slow. Yeah. Always felt myself, this isn't new.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Road to Freedom podcast with your host here, Austin Lupercio. We now go by a brand new name. So it's my brother and I, Tyler. We go by, want to tell him the name?
Professor Brothers.
That's right, the Professor Brothers. I'll tell you why.
Did you ask why? Or are we going to tell you
Probably
anyways?
why. We probably did ask. It's probably
why? Don't worry, we
curious. Reason being is because that's just the name that we're going to go with from now on.
Simple. Just kidding.
So here, let me take out my notes. My bad.
It's all good. Basically, the main premise of the idea is because every time my brother and I, Austin, get into a discussion, it always ends up being a podcast in itself. It's like an intellectual discussion. Basically, we figured out that we're almost modern-day philosophers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's it? Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. Another dope thing, too, that I realized when I was reading Meditations was that essentially, Meditations was built, or not built, but Marcus Aurelius, he was a Roman emperor back in, I think it was like 40 to 80 BC or something, right around that. Essentially, or no, after Christ. So it would be AC.
AD.
So it'd just be like...
After death.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Not AC?
Not after Christ.
No, because it's BC, before Christ.
Yeah, BC.
And that's
not
not
AD.
Oh, okay. After death. So we're in 80 right now then, 2022.
We're philosophers in the making. Give us a break.
Yeah. I was saying, though, that 1,800 years ago when Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor, I was reading Meditations, and it essentially looks exactly like how it is now, just themed different. Like, they wore different things, spoke a different language. I think they spoke Greek or something like that back then. But it's the same thing today. Now it's just modern times, different clothing, but the same topics, same principles, same lessons, which is why like the Stoic philosophy is so important, which you'll learn from Epictetus. Epictetus was Marcus Aurelius' teacher, and Epictetus was like a slave, and he like not created his own philosophy, but seen life through his own viewpoint, and then created like Stoic principles as well. And he also taught Marcus Aurelius. And Marcus Aurelius, I think you already know this too, but he was like he wasn't originally born into royalty. He was like adopted into royalty, and then he became an emperor. Do you know about Marcus Aurelius?
I remember that sounds familiar, but I can't say that I know him enough like the back of my hand to recite his story.
So essentially, he wasn't a Roman emperor. He wasn't born into royalty. He was actually adopted into the family. I don't know if it's because I think maybe his dad died, or I forget exactly the reason why. But he became emperor, and then he decided to, for the first time ever in Roman history, to like split up the emperor seat. So it was him and his brother who were the ones who were ruling it.
Oh, I see.
But he was the one who was more like about values and principles, because in the book he was talking about some documentary I watched or something like that was talking about how his brother was like doing like orgies and shit like that, what back in the day,
living the politician life.
Yeah, essentially. So it goes to show that it's the same thing going on today.
Right.
That was going on back then, like
definitely.
The royalty or the political class. Yeah. And he was talking about how all of that stuff, like whether it's like the sexual stuff or whether it's like your own desires, that the man's purpose is to not abide by his own desires and to do what the right thing is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
So, and he lived that philosophy throughout all his years. I think, if my research is correct, I think he was a Roman emperor. We talked about this in the first episode too, but for like 19 years or something, a long ass time.
So essentially living a life of purpose than pleasure.
Yeah, living a life of purpose and pleasure, yeah. And always picking purpose over your pleasure no matter what.
Definitely.
But yeah, so he was a Roman emperor for that long, and Meditations is essentially what he was journaling throughout every day. But he never talks about being an emperor. He never talks about anything about that. He talks about his mindset, so.
Really quick, why do you feel like that's important? Live a life of purpose versus pleasure?
When you live a life of purpose, you're living your life of purpose. When you live for pleasure, you feel empty. But when you live your life for purpose, you feel fulfilled.
Why do you feel empty?
When you're saying when you live
for pleasure?
Because you're not in alignment with who your highest version is. So when you're living for pleasures, you typically align with like the least valuable version of who you are. But when you're on your purpose, you align with your highest version of who you are, which is what we're intended to be, what we're intended to do, what we're intended to be. So, like, for example, like, kind of what we're going through right now, we finished 75 Hard, how long ago? A month ago?
A month ago.
Right before my birthday. So, it's been
Month
just
ago.
about a month. Yeah, today's September 4th. So, and ever since, it just doesn't, I've been fucking eating like crap, you know? I don't feel the best.
Yeah.
Top G.
Most definitely. AKA eating for pleasure.
Yeah.
You know? Versus before on
Indulging.
Indulging. In 75 Hard, when we did it, we had to eat for purpose.
Yeah.
So no matter how much we wanted Lolitas, Cane's,
or Chick-fil-A.
whatever, Lolita is really good. You should look it up.
San Diego.
San Diego. Mexican food, the best.
Yeah. Gotta sell chips.
Yeah.
With
Really.
no guacamole, add beans.
That would really test discipline.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways,
And the Chick-fil-A cookies.
you had to throw that in.
Those are fire.
So but anyways, yeah,
What you're
so
saying?
eating purposefully, you know?
Yeah.
So eating stuff that's going to basically attribute to our gains at the gym, our health, our
Yeah.
fitness, our mindset.
And our mind. Yeah.
No matter what we want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we wanted Cane's and greasy burgers. but
Yeah.
we had to basically step aside our desire for what we want and what is purposeful.
Yeah.
You know?
Being disciplined.
Essentially.
Being disciplined, because discipline is what gets us to our goal, to our end goal. And typically, like you and I, our main purpose is family. So to get to where we need to be, we have to be disciplined. And when we're undisciplined and eat like shit, you know, continuously, especially, and are indulging in whatever else comes about, that knocks us off our purpose, knocks us off our discipline, which we know that there's no stagnant state in the universe. So you're either progressing or you're receding. Yeah, you're degressing. So, you know, when we begin to fall into our impulses, then that's when we begin to regress. And I think, like, unconsciously, subconsciously, we feel that as well, because just like what Wes Watson talks about is that our consciousness guides us, and we're guided by our doubt. You know, so when we're doubtful, though, we know that those are the things that aren't in alignment with our purpose. You know what I mean?
Most definitely.
I mean, I can even give you an example, like hookups. With me, when I hook up with a girl, I don't feel right. Like, I feel like empty. I feel like I committed sin, you know? I just feel like grimy or dark.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
unaligned,
because that doesn't align with me and my purpose and who I am, which is like family once again.
Right.
You know,
things that have sustained value.
Yeah, sustained value.
Versus like indulging into pure pleasures, you know?
Yeah.
And it's always like, if we really think about it, if you want to get down to like the nitty gritty to why, maybe, is because when you live a life of pleasure, you're chasing a high continuously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're living a life for pleasure. So when you don't have pleasure in your life, you're unfulfilled. So you're chasing that next pleasure, that next high. And that essentially takes you away from your purpose. Because things that are purposeful aren't pleasurable sometimes, you know, until it's achieved. Yeah. You know?
Remember, too, that they were talking about, I think he talks about that as well in This Little Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. Because he talks about, like, quick highs, you know? And that's when I realized, like, okay, well, another example is when you eat like crap, that's a quick high, you know? But when you're disciplined and you stay true to what you need to do, because you know it's going to get you towards your goals, that's not a quick high. That's a sustained high, you know? Definitely. And once you develop the habit of discipline, you begin to get that compound effect of like
the natural high.
The natural high. You're 30, 40 days into being disciplined, into knowing you're on the path of where you need to be. And there's nothing else that combats it. And even like when you go about in your everyday life, like when you're doing phone calls or when you're doing whatever, addressing women in public
need to perform, essentially.
Need to perform, you're like at the top mindset. Versus when you have that doubt and you have that habit and that compound effect of having continuous doubt habits and loops, when it comes down time to perform, you doubt yourself a little bit and you don't feel that full confidence.
Most definitely.
So really, I mean, you reap what you sow. So depending on your mindset you get your results will alter. So the more discipline you can put in your favor, the better results you can get.
The more
overall.
in sync you'll be, the more you'll perform better. You know? Because when you're not in sync and you're trying to perform, obviously you feel off. You know? And a lot of it stems from us being away from our discipline, you know, and what we're supposed to do, what we should be doing.
There's something that I said that came to my mind, and I put it on my Instagram, but it said, our impulse is designed into our life on purpose. Discipline is how we ascend. Because think about like we talked about this before. What is the purpose of life? Is to raise consciousness.
Right.
So if you think about it, by applying discipline, because we're using conscious effort over our flesh, over the body, we're allowing our raising of consciousness, because we're overruling, what the body wants with our mind. Even though our body is telling us to eat the Snickers,
Right.
classic example, we don't.
Indulge
It's
in the pleasure.
mind over matter. So we're putting more of tally marks on the side of consciousness.
The mind is in control, not the body.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we allow our bodies and our natural urges guide us, guide our actions. When it shouldn't be. It should be our purpose and what we know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in meditations, so Marcus Aurelius, well, according to the translator who translated into English, I don't know if he actually said it this way in his own language. However, he talks about desire is what it is. And I remember when I first read it, I was like, desire? Like, because we come from like reading Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
So it's like burning desire.
Most definitely.
And then Marcus Aurelius in the translation says that the desire is the issue. But what it really is that the actual translation would be impulse.
Right. Most definitely.
Falling into your impulses. Yeah. And then obviously Think and Grow Rich is desire is what you want.
Right.
Like your big achievement, your
Most
big
definitely.
goal.
Your dream.
Essentially. Yeah. So there is a difference between that. But yeah, being disciplined is what allows us to stay on track into our goal. And that's the most important thing that matters. So especially as men, it's the most important thing because there's certain things that will pull us different ways, and it's important for us to stay disciplined to get to where we need to go, whatever the case may be.
Right, and if you think about it too, like you said, what did you say that not impulses, things to test us? You said that are designed to come into our
like
lives?
desires or impulses.
Impulses, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, impulses are designed in our life to test the will, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once we pass those tests, our consciousness raises and we have a better quality of life. Because like we said before, coming back to the basis of what the purpose of life is to raise consciousness.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. Another person that we've been following, I've been reading Wes Watson's book, the one that you bought me.
Right.
It's been pretty good so far. One of the things too that he talks about is that like essentially how we're kind of like the word would be demigods, which like demigod is like essentially like the most God version you can get, on the walking earth.
Immortal God.
Immortal God, yeah. And essentially that's our purpose is to become that. Is like the demigod.
And then what does he say that we should that what we're designed to do in his interpretation? Do you remember?
No.
It was be the best man that we can be, then give that man to the world.
Oh yeah.
And then when I heard that, I thought that was impactful.
Yeah, for sure.
So be the man that you desire to be, and then give it to the world.
Yeah, be the man that you admire and give him to the world. Yeah. So essentially, what do you think by that? It means like being our highest version of who we are and giving that to the world.
Most definitely. As service.
As
selfless service. Because why? At the end of the day, there's a lot of evidence to show that we're designed to give and be selfless at the end of the day. And the more that we indulge into the ego and the selfishness of human nature, the more our quality of life depletes.
Yeah.
So the goal is to be selfless. So once we become the best version of ourselves, we can attain high value, then turn around with that high value and give it to everybody else. Yeah. Uplift everybody else. Yeah. Ascend consciousness.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus indulging into a bunch of bullshit. And two, our purpose is to serve.
Right. And think about it. When you indulge into bullshit, what are you serving? The ego.
Yeah. Yeah, the flesh. Yeah. And then if we're going to talk about in a religious sense, fucking the devil per se.
Right. And if we want to talk about it in a scientific sense, the lower energy centers.
Yeah.
The energy centers that are designed to keep us closer to our animalistic self. Lower vibration energies, lower vibration centers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the higher that we can ascend in energy, right, like vibration, like frequency.
Most definitely.
Because the higher frequency we are, the happier we are, the more we are towards like light, essentially.
Right.
Which this kind of sounds probably a little complicated, but how would you explain that? Like raising conscious, like how would you explain that?
I think how I would explain it off the fly would be to basically really indulge into what separates us from the traditional animal. So the traditional animal reproduces.
But what would you say, like what is like, so if we were to have like a little kid here, like obviously the goal for us is to get as high frequency as possible, but what does that mean? Like what is frequency and how does it affiliate with energy, and us?
Yeah, so frequency is a vibration essentially, and energy is measured in that way through frequency because vibration is energy. And what would be higher consciousness was to be indulged into higher energies that exist in our universe. And some of those higher energies are love, compassion, wholesomeness.
Well, another thing
enlightenment.
to mention too is that everything is energy at the end of the day. No
Everything's
matter what it
energy.
is, all elements in the universe, not just on Earth but everywhere,
Most
is energy. So that also transpires and also correlates with us.
Right.
So how is it that, why would we assume that if everything in the universe is energy, why would the human not be energy?
Most definitely.
You know? And when we say consciousness, what we're saying is that having a higher frequency.
Yeah, awareness.
Awareness, you know?
A higher ability of awareness.
And higher frequency would be like, so lower frequency would be like guilt, doubt, shame, fear,
anger,
yeah,
aggression, ego.
And there's now to get even more complex, if we're gonna go there, we are going there, is that the more lower frequency we are, the more we're attached to the flesh, the more that we're on that 3D shit, like 3 dimensions.
Matter,
not
energy.
And the more that we raise our consciousness,
the more we become energy.
The less matter. And you begin to ascend this, in quotes, dimension.
Right.
That's why they say that, there's people in 3D and there's people in 4D, 5D.
Most definitely.
5 dimensions, 4 dimensions. But reason being is because I think there is that, like the 3D, which is like just like the plain animalistic environment, and then there's a 4th D, 5th D, whatever that may be. But one of those is definitely consciousness, where you're above that, which is like we talk about exiting the matrix, which is that
ascending the consciousness,
and the matrix is the 3D, and when you begin to bring awareness and you increase your vibrations, your consciousness, you exit the matrix, essentially, in quotes, if we're going to label it in that essence.
Why though? It like, why do we label it, or why do people label it as the matrix?
There's like a scientific term.
Important to explain that too, because I feel like there's a lot of negative connotation to the matrix. Like, dude, people think we're in a computer simulation and I'm just a computer code. Yeah. Not necessarily. Yeah. It's a figure of speech. It's an analogy. Yeah. Why?
Some people say like we do live in a matrix, or not, or a computer game system, or whatever. You know what I'm saying. But no, the matrix is like, we could actually look up the legitimate definition of it. Because remember we looked it up like the other day.
Yeah.
So let's just see matrix definition. Says an environment or material in which something develops, a surrounding medium or structure. So like if you were to watch the movie The Matrix, there's a part where like everything turns into code, and that's what we mean. It's really, I feel like I'm quite good at explaining things, but for whatever reason with The Matrix, it's a little bit complex.
I get you, it is.
But The Matrix is almost like an environment that we live in. So there's like multiple matrices. Like we can argue that there's a Rockefeller matrix, like the in quotes elite matrix that's created for all of society, and then there's like the real matrix of the universe, which is like once again ascending consciousness. And once you begin to bring awareness to like raising your consciousness and raising your vibration, that's when you ascend dimensions, in quotes, because we're like designed essentially from the womb to like be in this 3D matrix to like serve like fucking matter. And like we already know too, like from Rich Dad Poor Dad and also in Cash Flow Quadrant, that the schooling systems in America were created by bankers, and it's essentially created for us to be financially illiterate and illiterate overall, because the more ignorant we are, the more of an asset we are to somebody else. The more of a cash cow we are to somebody else. So we're an asset to the bankers. We're an asset to the government by being illiterate, because by being illiterate, we're depowered. The power is ripped from our hands, and also we're depowered financially. We're illiterate. We think
at the end of the day, what is it? Easier to control.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that's what really it's about. The more that we can control society, the better. For whoever is, I can't say who's in power. But there is definitely like an elite class per se that is doing that. And I think for anybody who doubts that is blind. Intentionally. Intentionally trying to play ignorant, whatever the case may be.
Because there's literally information and research you can do that it's blatant.
Well, and you'll see too, like for example, Joe Dispenza, people like catch on to this. And the time that you catch on is when you begin to become literate, because you start finding out all this information and you're like, dude, I want to fucking tell everybody about this shit. Because you start learning new things. Most definitely.
It literally feels like you're able to see, like, again, like you were blind, literally.
The veil's lifted.
No, literally.
And like, it's like, even like when you operate in the daily life, it's like different, you see definitely. Everybody else is living in that matrix, in quotes.
NPC.
The NPC
in
shit. In the game. And we see the reality of how life really is. An example is like the law of attraction.
Most definitely.
Law of attraction is definitely real. And we think about what we think about, we bring about.
Most definitely.
And what I can say too is there's times, about these times where I've discussed with you the altering of my mind, and the next day I manifest that thing, whatever it may be, multiple times.
Blatant evidence,
multiple times. And even like there's times too where I've journaled about certain things and it came about months later. So there is one thing I've learned about the law of manifestation, that there is no time to put on it.
Most definitely.
It's like, it just depends on how strong your magnetic pull is.
Right.
And the way you do that is by raising your vibration and eliminating doubt,
Most definitely.
Because we do get what we think about, we bring about.
Most
so
definitely.
that's why I'm super aware and conscious of the words I speak. What was the thing that we heard earlier?
What do you mean?
There was in that book that said, like, you don't get what you criticize.
Oh, you can never attain what you criticize.
Mm-hmm. So, like, for example, when it talks about getting money, is that don't ever say filthy rich. Don't ever say that, to get money, you have to fuck somebody over, because whatever you criticize, you don't attain.
Right.
So if you're looking to become rich, or if you're looking to have
filthy
you're
rich,
not
going to.
Or even think about relationships too. Like if you truly desire like a real relationship with a wife or a woman, who is feminine, who is loving, who supports you in how you want to be supported, but yet you talk shit about women, what are you going to reap?
Relationships.
Relationships, what are you going to reap?
Yeah. No relationship, and no success.
Exactly, because what it has a saying goes, what you criticize, you won't attain.
Right. So there's a lot of people too that criticize certain things because they feel like they can't have it. So it's easier to criticize something, so that way you can justify in your mind why you don't why you can't attain it.
But that's ignorance.
That's ignorance. And that's easy.
And ignorance isn't fucking bliss.
No.
Ignorance is whack, because it gets you bullshit at the end of the day.
Oh shit.
And that's why, like, even for example with me, is that when I like see
good point, by the way. That's a good point.
When I see like women or like a couple, I used to be like, man, these fucking people,
Mm-hmm.
Now my mindset's way fucking different.
Most
so
definitely.
I'm like, when I see a couple, I'm like, yeah, like good shit, like good for them, I'm happy for them and I want the best for them. Versus before, I'd be like, or whatever the case may be. But that because it stemmed from an insecurity that I had, that men go their own way mentality.
Right.
What's the acronym? NGOW?
Yeah, MGTOW.
Yeah, men go their own way, which is, I think, a bunch of bullshit.
Well, a lot of it too is like it stems from a lot of hurt men.
Yeah.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
But the thing is too is that a couple books like Hard Times Create Strong Men, Stephen Arnio.
Like that book.
Really great book. And not only that, but The Way of the Superior Man.
Which he also references in that book a lot.
Which he references a lot. Stephen references
Yeah, dude, shout out to that guy, Stephen Arnio. Rest in peace.
Big
passed
shout
away,
out.
but
Big shout out.
Huge inspiration too.
Huge value bringer.
Yeah, major. But anyways, what were you saying?
So what I was saying was that in both of those books, what it mentions is that we can't opt out of being good with women as men. You know? So a lot of times as men, this is something I'm speaking to from my own experience, is that I've been hurt from previous relationships.
Me too.
And
everybody has.
The best has.
Yeah.
The best of us has. The only time you maybe haven't been hurt is when you haven't indulged into a relationship and tried risking it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that being said, is that a lot of times,
bitch shit too.
which is bitch shit. We can't opt out, essentially.
Yeah.
If we want to be strong men,
exactly,
superior men,
yeah,
we have to basically figure out how to master the female energy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How to live with them, how to operate with them, together. Because we both benefit each other as both ends of the spectrum as male and female. Anyways, what I was saying as far as basically trying to attain skill so we can coexist with women the best possible.
Yeah, and that first starts with understanding too.
Understanding
of both the dynamic of male and female,
and how they're different.
Men think different, women think different.
Right, we're legitimately, we're wired differently.
Yeah,
a lot of times as men, we look at women, we get frustrated with women. Why? It's because we try to understand women through our filter, our perspective, when we have to realize that they look at life through a different lens because they're a different type of being. So we have to understand how they operate so we can operate with them in the best manner possible, the most constructive, efficient way possible.
Yeah, the most, I think of like a connection or like the best applicable way or an alignment way. I can't think of the right word, but essentially,
because coexisting in the most constructive, efficient way.
Because I used to think like men and women thought exactly the same.
Most definitely, so did I. So that's why I was consistently frustrated when I'd find women to commit to something like, let's go out tomorrow for a dinner.
And tomorrow
or
comes
lunch.
and
tomorrow comes, I'm getting ready, putting on cologne.
Yeah, I'm about to pull up.
And I'm hitting, hey, where are you at? And they go MIA, and you're like, the fuck? She gave her word?
Yeah.
This and that. Because why? We're thinking as men, once we give our word, we're going to stick to it. So we put women in that same light and look through them through that same filter when they look at life through a completely different lens.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's what makes women beautiful and men beautiful in the sense of the difference.
Yeah.
Because there's flavors in the world. If we're all the same, shit gets boring.
Yeah,
quick.
exactly. Well, and it goes to law of polarity, male and female. This is a dynamic across of all the universe. So of course it's going to apply to male and men and women at the end of the day. And the thing too, like the truth is this, is that women are chaotic. The way that women think is chaotic. The way that men think is logic based. So when men and women talk, a man who's unaware is only speaking to the woman in a logical sense, where the woman is talking to the man in only an emotional sense. Regardless of what people may think, that's the truth behind it.
Right.
Now,
and
there's exceptions to the rules, right? There's obviously women who are more logical, and there's men who are feminine as fuck, which is kind of what's going on today.
Right.
But anyways, what were you going to say?
So I was going to say, just to like double down on the men being logic and women being chaotic, because I know that might have negative connotations to those type of words.
It's a fact, though.
It is the fact. So basically what we're trying to say in a deeper essence is that women are chaotic and emotional, but that's what makes them free too and fun.
Yeah.
You know, they're not bound by anything. They're free. They're exciting. You know, that's what makes them, us as men, able to indulge in that side of the spectrum, because as men sometimes we're too rigid. We're too logical.
White, black and white.
Black and white. We categorize two things too much. No, we're not going to do this. Yes, we are going to do this. Whereas women with that free spirit, chaotic spirit, unpredictable ocean is a lot more fun, free, and gives us an element that we're missing as men by being too logical sometimes, and vice versa. We can come and benefit the woman or the other opposite energy, however you want to display it or say it.
By bringing order.
By bringing order to the chaos.
Yeah.
And it's a balance between both.
It is.
And both are just essentially as important.
Yeah.
You know, both pieces of the puzzle are just as important as the other. So
one isn't more important than the other. It's the balance of the two.
We're not subconsciously trying to say that,
talk shit or
say anything, you know. We're basically saying that
I think like, for example, when I say that the woman energy or feminine energy is chaotic, that automatically ensues like not good,
right?
Like,
that's what I can imagine. I'm not chaotic. You know,
that's not what I mean.
No,
you know, it's like when I mean chaotic, I mean like unguided energy, per se.
And that could be fun frenzy. You know what I mean? That could be fun, you know, sporadic, spontaneous.
Sporadic, spontaneous. That's why it goes back to the way that we think as men. We're logical. So it's like, I tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. You know. So when we say that we're gonna go out next Saturday pulls up, I'm pulling up. You know.
But her. She's sporadic, maybe. So she could change with the tide.
And she's more basing decisions off of her emotions. So
in that current moment.
So when she told you a week ago that she was down, she probably was down. You know, but that week comes later and she maybe not vibing more.
The change in mood happened, you know, and she's basing off her current environmental situation, and she might not be feeling what she said a week ago. So she's gonna go based off typically how she feels in that moment to moment, you know? And that's what makes it fun for women as far as their chaotic nature, because it can be spontaneous, you know?
Which is good for the man.
Which is great for the man.
And even with me, I try my best to say that I'm balanced already, because I feel like with me, I do have a good amount of masculine and feminine energy. However, I'm more on the masculine side for sure. Or even reviewing some of these podcasts that we've recorded already, I noticed that I do have a major, like, more masculine energy to me, and that I was thinking, like, what I'm really searching for right now is that balance for a woman who is way more, and I shouldn't say way more feminine, but feminine woman.
Feminine in nature mainly.
Feminine in nature mainly, who she is. You know, she brings feminine energy to me, where it's the synergy of the two that combine together.
The balance.
The balance of the two. And I feel like with me is that at my point in my life right now is that that's what will benefit me right now.
Most
you know,
definitely.
Out of all things, it's kind of like...
And another thing too, just to like address really that something that we've both heard is that behind a lot of powerful men that are successful in society,
it's a
strong woman right there backing them.
I used to think too that was like bullshit.
I used to think that was bullshit.
It was just
too.
that man go their own way thing.
Yeah, it was that her. You know, we don't need women.
She was coming from our hurt, bro.
Yeah, from the
aberration. But the men go their. I wrote down right here. The men go their own way thing is weak. It's like that That's why, like,
we're opting out of women and we're doing our own thing.
Yeah, we're going our own way. But
men over here, women, you stay there.
What I can say too is that I think women have definitely, like, in our generation, have like become super polarized.
Oh, most definitely.
Where it's like a lot of women nowadays, like, they embrace
masculine purpose,
masculinity now.
Most definitely.
They embrace their career, which is fine. I think it's completely cool if a girl wants to do what she wants to do with her career, but understand that by, like, being driven by, like, gathering resources, that's masculine. You know, that's a man's job. If we're gonna look on it, let's just scratch the human nature, the construct. If we're looking at just animal nature, is that typically the man is the one who gathers resources and the woman is the one who protects, like, the camp, or like in regards to the children. So I shouldn't even say protect, because that's the man's job too. The man's job is to
the children.
Nurture, yes.
Raises the village.
And the man's job is to essentially protect and serve the family,
most definitely. Gather
resources and protect the family. The woman's job is to, you know, if we're talking on a general basis,
most definitely,
is to be the nurturing aspect
in the traditional sense.
In the traditional sense.
Now, if we like, let's take away man and woman, like the human idea. Let's just talk about energy. You know?
Yeah.
There's masculine energy and there's feminine energy. You know? And stereotypically, men lie with masculine energy and females as well.
Yeah.
So we're really saying too, even aside from the social dynamics of men and women, there's masculine energy and feminine energy. It's in itself.
Mm-hmm. And what even he talks about too, I don't know if he talks about this I don't remember if he talks about this in The Way of Superior Man, but Stefan Arnio talks about it in the Hard Times Create Strong Men, is that you'll naturally attract the opposite energy of what you are. So, like, for example, if you're a woman and you tend to find that you attract a bunch of submissive men, you should check yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, you know, what am I doing that's masculine? Because if I'm masculine and I'm trying to attract a mate, I'm going to attract the opposite. So if I continuously attract these guys who I fucking push around and stuff like that, it's because you're displaying masculine energy. So to get at what you want, you have to portray the opposite. So if you want a masculine man, a guy to give you order, guidance, somebody with wisdom, you have to show that you're willing to be submissive, you know, being feminine in nature, even the way that you dress. Like, I'll give you an example for me. I'm not looking to overrule a woman. I'm not looking for a disagreeable woman. Disagreeable is masculine energy.
Most definitely.
Agreeable is more feminine, you know, nurturing energy, we can call it.
Most definitely.
So I'm not looking for a fucking masculine woman. I'm looking for a woman who is nurturing for my kids, you know, our future kids. And also a woman who is, like, kind of chaotic, like spunky, you know, and fun, bubbly, like we've talked about before.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know? And, I mean, I've had examples where this one girl that I met randomly, like, walking on Seaport Village, she was definitely portraying, shout out to her, she's cool, she was portraying masculine energy, and it just seemed like she would attract, you know, I don't want to get into the specifics, but essentially she definitely was attracting, you know, feminine men into her life, you know, but little does she realize that. And here's the thing, the important part about bringing that up is because we have our own natures in biology, right? So a man needs to be in alignment with his nature, a woman needs to be in alignment with her nature. So when a man is feminine, he's weak. He's not in alignment with who he truly is as biology, you know?
Yeah,
biologically, which if we're not in alignment with who we are, it creates like unease. We're not in alignment with us, you know, with our highest self.
Yeah.
And same thing with the woman when she's, like, all about her purpose because of the new feminist fucking brainwashing stuff, is that she's in alignment. She's not in alignment with her purpose. And she comes to find out when she's 40 and let's just say she climbs the corporate ladder. Now, once again, this is a general, you know, we're laying a general blanket, but with general stereotypes, there's typically a reason why that is.
Most definitely.
Because people tend to typically fall into that. Now, there's exception to the rules.
Usually there's truth that underlines it.
Because I can even think, I know Tiffany, she's like somebody who is a dominant woman, and she's doing great with her in a relationship. So there's exceptions to the rules, you know? But typically, I mean, and once again, you attract the opposite of who she is. Definitely. So, I mean, anyways, but so yeah, with that is that with the woman in regards to that is that when you're masculine as a woman and you're pursuing the corporate ladder, joining the corporate ladder and fighting and being in competition and being assertive and all that stuff, you turn 40 years old, you're single and you have no family. No family. Are you going to be happy with that?
Right.
You know, probably not. We can probably agree that what you really want would be, well, a woman would really want, generally speaking, once again, is to have a fucking family, you know, a nurturing.
Most women that I know, and especially if they're mothers, love being mothers.
Yeah.
Love being mothers more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, just something that Austin touched on, it's really too important to really address that there is women that naturally embody masculine energy, and that's fine or whatever. But when we're talking generally, it's an exception to the rule. There's always an exception to the rule. Now, do we base off the common truth of life based on the exception of the rule? No, we do it off the majority. You know, and a lot of times too, like we said, if you have feminine energy in general, as a man, and you do want a masculine woman to guide you, perfect. Yeah. Because you guys,
it works for you.
It will work for you, and you'll attract that. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you are like my brother originally, or just mentioned previously. If the
other professor
mentioned,
sorry,
that's all good. Is just like the other professor mentioned prior. Right now, is that when you are a woman, and let's say you do attract feminine essenced men, is probably too is because whatever energy you're giving off is most masculine. Now, if that's something that you want. More power to you. You do want, a feminine man that's going to not really be oppositional and listen to what you say, and you get to take charge, wear the pants. Perfect. Yeah. It's going to work.
And does a woman really, at the end of the day, does she really enjoy wearing the pants?
Not the typical, not on the common typical.
I think this like WAP ideology, definitely. They want to be wearing that pants, but I guarantee you wear the pants for 6 months and we'll see. We'll go back to the report and see how are you truly feeling.
Put it this way. The real test, when danger happens, when bullets fly and blood starts spilling, will the women step up, or will they hide behind the men with their children?
Do you want the man to stand behind you too as a woman?
Right.
Go downstairs, honey.
Yeah, I got this. You stay in bed. I'm gonna protect you from the intruder. And
while the guy's hiding in the bed.
Yeah, while the woman's clearing the house. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I'm saying, like I said, I'm sure there is women that are like
that. For sure.
But this is the exception to the rule.
Once again.
Now, what we can really see is when bullets start flying and danger is,
coming about.
The thing is too, what will most of the women do? Maybe there is women that will step up, but you're probably going to see majority of the women in the back with the children hiding and feeling okay that the man is risking his life for their protection. They're not going to argue with that
at that point
about value, about who's energy or who.
Oh hell no!
Yeah, that's not fair.
I'll take the pistol.
Yeah, feminine ideologies go out the window. Probably.
Yeah, feminist, you're saying.
Feminist. Yeah. The whole ideology of that. When danger happens, all of a sudden everyone gets aligned with their biology.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
So it just goes to show, though, that the truth still stands regardless, Yeah. Now, like we said before, and this is something that I'm consistently reiterating because I don't want people to,
misogyny and all that bullshit. Yes. It's not about that.
Mislabel us, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? There's always exceptions to the rule, and the rule is fine. But just because there's an exception to the rule doesn't make it the majority. And the majority is mostly as human beings, we align with our biology, and that's basically men protecting, men learning how to get resources,
gathering resources
in a high value. And not only that too, being able to protect, being able to stand up, take charge, you know what I mean? And same thing, a woman to be able to relax, have
in her
nature, not have to worry about the chaotic elements of life. You know what I mean? That makes us so rigid as men. Yeah. They get to stay in their feminine essence, stay wearing dresses, putting on makeup. Yeah. Because think about it. Why do we see less women wearing dresses and stuff? This is my theory. It's because I think they're so in their masculine purpose now, dealing with traffic, dealing with the workforce, all these things. They don't have time to be thinking about primping themselves up and wearing a dress. Now, if you look in the 50s, a lot of women were a lot more girly. Is because a lot of them, too, were traditional women staying at home, away from the chaotic, dangerous world. The trenches. Yeah. That they can
outside
stay
of
in their
house.
safe zone. Yeah. Stay in their safe zone, not worry about bills and stresses and big things. They get to worry just about the children, keeping the house in order, which is just as important as the man.
Definitely.
And they get to still relax in their feminine essence, be fun, bubbly. Yeah. What warps that? What takes that away is when you start having to get serious and deal with the world. Yeah. And that's where us men.
It's a masculine. Start going towards the masculine side of things by doing that.
The masculine side of the spectrum.
Yeah, and a question I always ask women too is that would you rather be able to do what you want and be provided for in the house, but you're a housewife, or would you want to go out and hunt, hunt your own meat, and get your own shit,
And I think too, just by saying that too, doesn't necessarily imply you not working on something as a woman.
Exactly. Yeah. Have your own passion.
Have your own passion.
And you get provided for. So you're, as a woman, your income, you don't have to worry about your income. Like if you want it, for example, like with me, ideally too, it'd be cool for my girl to be like involved in like some kind of entrepreneurship or some kind of passion project, and that's what I want for her. So I'm gonna provide that through my income. So look, you get to just worry about your passion. You get to fucking just focus on what you want to focus on
without the financial stresses,
without the struggle of figuring out how to pay the bills. All the bills are gonna get covered. Just take care of the kids, you know, keep the house up, and you get to do what you want.
Yeah, focus on who you are. You know, learn yourself. What are your passions, and basically grow them.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to provide a resource for you to
for
be
you
able to grow
and the
them.
kids,
Yes.
and for us to have a house over our head.
Most definitely.
And it's like these traditional values have been completely swept from society in today.
Most definitely.
You know?
If you look at a job, any employment, there's roles. There's a boss, there's a janitor, there's a regular employee. Not everybody's the boss. Now, when we come to a relationship, that's why the two elements, them playing the roles, always come back to a powerhouse. You know, it's because why? Both of you are attributing to something to the relationship in different roles.
Well, think about what we said earlier. The synergy between masculine and feminine, them coming together makes a powerhouse.
Most definitely.
So if we were to think about it, if we want to like fuck up a society or create some kind of shift, wouldn't we, knowing about the law of polarity and knowing how the synergy of the universe works, if we want to create chaos, wouldn't it be a really smart idea to begin to make men women and women men?
Most definitely.
By distorting the idea of these certain things, like making women more masculine and making men more feminine.
Most definitely.
You know, and could we say that if that's the case, could we say that there's an attack on the people in that regards? An unknown war, you know, per se.
Right.
Now, I think that's a big possibility.
Right.
You know?
Subconscious war, essentially.
Yeah, like that's what they say, like spiritual war and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think all that shit is real, dude.
Most definitely.
I think it's really real, but I mean, time will tell at the end of the day. But I think too, like reiterating the reason why we bring this topic up as well is that like it's not to say that men are better than women or women are better than men. I think women too have the ultimate power. They have the most divine power, which is bringing life into the universe. How fucking epic is that? A guy can't do that. I mean, it's no matter how much they're going to try to tell you a man can get pregnant, a man can't get fucking pregnant.
And then think about this, though. No matter how successful a man comes to be, that can't all come about without a woman birthing.
Yeah, that's true.
Child, you know?
Yeah, and no matter how successful a man can be, too, he doesn't have the power to bring another life into the world the way that a woman
can. No matter
can.
how much resources he can gather, no matter how many people he can protect.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong, you know. It's everything right that there's roles for both men and women.
At the end of the day, it's a value exchange.
Yes, not one is better than the other. No. And I think that's a misconception, is that what they try to say, or with the like all the feminist movement, or however you want to say it, is that they think that masculinity is bad, you know, when it's actually super important. And femininity too is very important to the man as well. And by talking about these topics, we bring awareness to this to create that synergy again, you know, because what we're doing is that we're just bringing awareness to the polarities and the functions behind it, you know, and how it operates in society. And the confusion and the illusion that's going on right now, that it's okay for a man to be a woman and a woman to be a man, when that's not the fucking case at all whatsoever, because it goes against our nature. And I guarantee you, extrapolate it over 50 years, let's see how happy the women who act like men, how mentally healthy, let's look at depression charts. Let's look at that data 50 years from now, when men are acting like women and women are acting like men for 50 years straight. And let's see where it takes us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see where our world is.
And that's why too, we always talk about how, like, you know, we were meant to be born in the 50s for sure.
Well, that's why I've heard multiple times, like, where we live in an upside down world now.
Yeah,
you know, opposite
for
world,
sure, dude.
You know?
Yeah, and you find the more information that you tend to learn, the opposite of what we've been taught tends to be typically true.
Most definitely.
True.
So can we argue that there's a disempowering force that's trying to basically influence society?
Big possibility.
To be opposite,
Big
so we don't align with their true nature, so we can become disempowered, easily controlled. Just an idea.
Big possibility. I think too, a lot of the big minds have known this throughout history, but obviously if you were to like come out like Alex Jones, try to say some shit, the frogs are gay, you know,
the latest,
you know, that what automatically pushes people away, you know. And kind of like we've talked about too as well, is that like a big purpose of what we do. And I even think, like, you and I talking too, it helps create that synergy, because like with me, I'm like more straight up.
Most definitely.
because I just want to tell it how it is.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to tell people, but some people don't accept reality in that way. And I'm not saying I have, what do they call it, like a gatekeep on reality or the truth. All I'm doing is I'm speaking from my truth, from the knowledge and information that I've attained and learned. Now, it's important to have conversations, and that's why I like, for example, like outside of the podcast, and obviously we'll bring this into the podcast more, and even my friend too has talked about this, but creating a segment where I talk about devil's advocate. Yeah. But to me, I like that because it creates a counter argument.
It challenges the narrative.
It challenges the narrative.
Common accepted narrative.
Because it's not about me being right. It's about let's get down to the truth. What's the truth? What's the reality of this as well? And that's why too, like us bringing on other women who don't agree with this, because that's the common narrative is against this ideology of today. And the way that we can get down to the truth is by talking to other women or even other men. Lay it out on the table. Because let's get down to the truth. Let's figure out what makes us best as people. You know, at the end of the day.
Let's figure out what our intentions truly are underneath all this.
And it really, if you think about it too, it is the people's responsibility to get down to the truth. It's not the government's job. It's not anybody else's job. It's our job as the people to gather together and conversate. And same thing with the political bullshit, left and right. It's all a bunch of BS. It's our job together as Democrats and Republicans, in quotes, if we're going to identify on any side, doesn't matter, is to come together and come to the truth.
Figure out what the disagreements are and figure out how to come together. Because at the end of the day, as people, we know, once they divide us, they can conquer us. Divide and conquer.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Most definitely.
And kind of like we were talking about earlier at the coffee shop is that, let's just say the Second Amendment gun control, right? Is that personally, us speaking, we tend to align with less gun control ideology. Now, the reason why is because our mindset and our belief behind that is that we think that the less gun control there is, the more freedoms we have and the more capability we have of protecting yourself. So it comes down to safety. Now, the counter argument is that the more guns there are, the less safe the public is, you know? And that's the, in quotes, democratic side. Now, we're not saying we're Republican. We're not saying we're Democrat. We're just saying in this particular example,
stereotypically
speaking is that when it comes down to the left viewpoint is that they think that gun control will create safety. But now let's look at it on a pie chart. What's the common theme? Is the common theme is safety for the public. So the right tends to think that having less gun control creates safety for the public and for the individual and their family, and the left thinks that more gun control creates safety for the individual, for themselves, their family, and everybody, the public, just as a Republican would. Right. So their ideology is the same at the end of the day. What they want is the same at the end of the day.
Their intention is safety.
Their intent is the same thing. It's just the way that we go about it is different.
They feel they go about it in different ways.
Yes.
How do we achieve safety? We feel this is the way we achieve safety. No, we feel this is the way we achieve safety.
But at the end of the day, we're looking for safety at the end of the day. But everybody is.
But at the end of the day, something that's not addressed ever is that we both have the same intention. We want safety for our people and our loved ones, you know? So we can actually align with the opposite side of the argument by coming with the basis that we both want the same thing.
Yeah.
We just look through different lenses how to achieve it.
Yeah.
You know?
And for example, like the right side to the left is that they're trying to take all our fucking guns away. They want us to just be ruled by the government. I would say those are more byproducts of guns being taken away, and we can say that is potentially true. However, I could also argue that the Democratic side isn't that. You know, they don't think, or they can think that big government is important because they think that with bigger government means more safety and more betterment for the people, you know? Right. So once again, it goes back to the same thing. The intent is actually the same from the Republican and the Democratic side. It's just the way that we go about it is different, which is why it's important to have a conversation with everybody, regardless of whether it's political or whether it's topics like the masculine and feminine energy thing, whether it's relationships, whether it's business, whether it's whatever it is. Dialogue and disagreement is important to getting down to the truth at the end of the day. So welcome disagreement. Let people come to you and let people say what their opinion is, because we want to figure out, all right. And the thing is is that if you don't want an argument, you obviously don't truly believe in the way you think. Because if you believe in a certain way, you just have absolute conviction that your way of thinking is correct. So bring on anybody. I don't care. Put them on the mic, because I know that the way I'm talking about, I've done research and I've thought this through. I've thought about all the possible avenues, and this way is right. So bring it on anybody. But when you're afraid of confrontation and you don't want to talk to anybody, it's because more than likely you don't believe in what you really think. Right. And you've been fed this information and been born into or whatever, been bred into thinking in a certain way, but you don't know why. You know, so you just say, I don't want to fucking talk to the other side, whatever it may be, whether it's political or whatever the case may be. So that dialogue of disagreement is super important to get down to the truth. You know?
Most definitely. And I think too, just as a basis of what you said is that the common thing when arguments become not constructive is usually when you're trying to be right versus trying to uncover what is right. I'm not necessarily the truth. I'm just saying what the truth is. But a lot of people get caught up in ego. Yep. It's very easy to get caught up in ego. And when you feel like somebody doesn't agree with you, it's almost subconsciously attack on yourself and your beliefs. So your ego takes over, and it's oppositional, trying to make points to prove that what I'm right, not that this is right. This is the truth, you know? Because at the end of the day, there's certain things that I don't like, certain truths, but I'll address them and admit them because it is what it is. Yeah. You know? Now I don't really align with it per se. Like I don't necessarily like it doesn't necessarily, it's not my ego. It doesn't align with my ego, but it is just the truth at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, all I care about is what is the truth, not being right.
Yeah, being right.
What is right, not me being right, not me, ego, being right. What is right, you know what I mean?
And we can say, tying it back to the beginning of our conversation, is that why it's so important to ascend beyond flesh, because the flesh is the ego.
Yes.
And to raise our consciousness, because when we raise our consciousness, it's no longer about the individual. About the individual, it's about the whole, everybody. The collective, you know? And really, at the end of the day, that is what it's about, is for the betterment of the collective, you know? And the more that we can raise consciousness, the more that the collective can get better.
Most definitely.
You know, which is like the intent of the podcast.
Most definitely.
And it's so interesting, dude. I always think about this. We're such like a unique, dude. How unique are we, dude?
No, most definitely.
Like Mexican, you know, but American AF, you know, but then thinking like these like different ideologies,
most definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because like
abstract.
But the thing is that because we don't identify with like one way of thinking, you know?
Definitely.
We identify with the truth.
Yeah, you can't put a box on us.
You can't put a box on us, never. And the thing too is that we'll always continuously be adjusting and adapting to evolving because we'll attain more information, we'll learn new things, read new books, and those new truths will come about, and we learn more things, which is actually excites me too about like bringing on people onto the podcast, like people who disagree, you know. And the good thing too is that it's going to be you and I. Like we typically, I would say 99.9% of the things we typically agree on. So it's like a powerhouse, you know, of the way that we think. Because I feel like a lot of the truth has been suppressed, you know, and it's been like pushed to like different sides, polarizing sides. But truth lays on both sides at the end of the day, you know. And I think that's why, like, I tend to find that I get a variety of people who will disagree with me in the way that we think, you know. And I always think that's a good thing because that means that we typically don't align with just one ideology viewpoint, you know, which is like even with me when I have conversations, I try my best not to have a biased viewpoint. And when I have that biased viewpoint, I bring that to my awareness, like, yeah, I'm a little biased, or I'll make it known in the conversation. Like, you know, I'm a little biased because I come from X, Y, and Z, you know, and my experience has been X, Y, and Z. So I've never necessarily had your experience, but looking at it from the outside of view and what I've understood, X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 you know.
Most definitely.
So, yeah, but I guess what we'll do is that we'll wrap it up here. Is there anything that else you want to mention?
Well, just want to sum up everything that we said at the very end, which is basically as people, us coming together, you know, and basically uncovering what is right and not trying to be right, and addressing what our intentions are when we come to the table with a certain ideology, you know. And if our intention is the same, then we need to figure out how to see from the other person's perspective so we can come to a common ground. Because at the end of the day, we have to unite to be healthy. Yeah. As people. Yeah. You know, the more division, the more conflict,
the more chaos there is.
The more chaos, the more disempowerment. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, and the way that we can really fix any issue that's going on in the world right now is through unity.
Most definitely.
And the way we do that is by understanding each other and why we think certain ways. You know, there's a certain grace, giving grace to people. You know, and I think like growing up, I used to be hella polarizing with the way that I think, and I used to be like, fuck them. I don't like the way that they think, this and that. But that was an immature standpoint, thinking that whatever I think is right. You know, that's obviously like the high schooler mentality.
Not only that too, but it shows your growth.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Versus you being the same since then, no growth, stagnant. You know, thinking these same ideologies. Yeah, you know, being ignorant essentially.
Yeah, and knowing that as an NLP, you learn the map is not the territory. So by knowing that different upbringings of different people cultivate a certain ideology and way of thinking. So we have to bring that to the table when we have a disagreement with somebody, because they may have had like crazy traumatic experiences or different upbringings, different teachings, and different ways of thinking that cultivated that person that they are.
That lens
that
they look through.
And same thing with me, you know. But the point is that we got to figure out the word that two combined where we can see the truth.
Most definitely.
You know?
And we have to have our intention at the end of the day, that we have to come together, and our intention has to be, how can I understand this other person's viewpoint, their perspective? Not how can I
be right.
How
can I instill?
How can I show them that my lens is better? You know, essentially, you know.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, too, this is like a gold nugget that I feel like that I've uncovered, you know. But I feel like one thing that I understand about human behavior is that at the end of the day, we all just want to be understood, you know. So if you want to be influential, you know, the first thing you have to do is understand that other person before trying to bring understanding of your perspective to them. We have to make our first priority understanding the other side, trying to put their shoes on, you know, trying to look through their
feel
lens.
them and be like,
feel them.
This is how you feel.
I can totally see
why you think that way.
Why you think that way. You were born this way. You've seen this throughout your whole life. I totally get it.
You know, if I was you, I'd probably think the same exact way.
Exactly.
You know?
But let me show you why, too, that can be dangerous, you know, because at the end of the day, this person's going to feel like, man, they're trying to make an effort to understand me, and they're going to be more open. And at the end of the day, if we're trying to influence them in our intention is for the betterment of them, not trying to be right, you know, we're going to try to understand them, and we're going to try to be trying to influence them. So how do we do that the best way? By understanding them so they can open up their doors. Yeah. Now, when you tell them, that's stupid. Where did you get that idea from?
You fucking idiot.
What is that going to naturally do?
Make the walls go up.
Put up a wall.
As anybody would. And if somebody's calling me an idiot, why the fuck would I want to try to understand? Yeah. Let me try to understand this. Yeah.
All right. I'm open-minded to keep going, you know? Yeah. No, it's going to make people naturally defensive. Close off. Now they're going to defend their point, you know? So at this point, what's the point of the argument?
There is none.
It's just
ego.
Wall versus wall.
Yeah.
Arguing, you know? Yeah. Because both are trying to be right, and both aren't going to see each other's perspective. Yeah. You know? So at the end of the day, it shouldn't even waste your energy. You know? So it all comes down to, what is the intent of both people that are discussing opposite views, you know? And if it's to come to a better understanding, it's easier. And not only that too, but to be compassionate and realize that they need to be understood too, and to put their viewpoint first. Understand them first, put on their shoes first before you try to make them put on your shoes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like that's something that we all as society can really like digest and really think about. You know what I mean? Because with this change in perspective, you'll change relationships. You know what I mean?
In all regards.
Whether
it's business, whether it's family, sibling, whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend, your significant other, you know? That's what I was thinking about right now. Is I was like, dude, this is applicable to all aspects of communication, you know?
I kind of didn't want to say that because I felt like it was like a golden nugget that I can, like a magic wand that I get to use, but abundance mentality, right?
Well, it's like the idea though is that like coming from a genuine standpoint.
Most definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Like my intent is to understand this person and see why they think they're that way. And when we come from that genuine standpoint, naturally what we'll do is try to understand where they're coming from. Yeah. So it's about being genuine first, you know, which we could say also all comes back from your principles. You know, it goes back to, are you looking to really come to an agreement with this guy, or are you coming from an egotistical basis? Because if you're coming from an egotistical basis, you're not going to look for, you know, trying to give grace, and it comes back to your morals and your ethics and your standards. And to us, you know, our ethics is the betterment of the all, you know, for everybody. So I was thinking too, like, check yourself at the door, you know.
Yeah, check your intention.
Check your intention. Check your ego at the door, you know. When you have this conversation, make sure you're doing it for the right intention.
Right. Remind yourself of the intention. Remind yourself of the intention.
As you're going through it too. And even with me, like, for example, like, if I begin to get a little bit egotistical, I'll consciously check myself in that moment. You're being egotistical. Right.
Not only that too, but it just shows too that we are susceptible to these flaws, you know?
It's a flesh.
It's just about readjusting and making those behaviors less, you know? But not only that, but checking your intent, you know? Yeah. Are you doing it for selfishness or selflessness? Yeah. You know what I mean? What is your intention, you know? What is your intention is important, you know? Intention is everything. Yeah. Attention and intention, you know? Yeah.
Just like we were talking.
The basis of consciousness, the basis of life.
Yeah, basis of everything.
Basis of everything.
But, all right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. The Professor Brothers, class was in session today. Another episode. We should say technically that was like the first episode of class.
The Professor Brothers.
You know what we should do like a ringing bell, like, like class, and then the ending.
Everyone take your seats.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, make sure to follow Tyler now. What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Flip It Tyler.
Yeah, Flip It Tyler. Are you going to keep that username forever, you think?
something I haven't thought about. But I mean, so far, yeah, I haven't had like an idea to change it, you know. But I guess it basically
Professor Tyler.
Maybe that's pretty good.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you can brainstorm.
the flip it. I just say that because it's like
entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good name too. I think we should like. Well, you already know, but talking about like revamping your Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
Like taking a new pic.
Yeah.
And all that. You
no,
know?
that's for sure going down.
Yeah.
It's just the name. Should I change it?
Yeah. I think Flip It Tyler is pretty good.
But depending on when you see this podcast, look up Flip It Tyler first.
Yeah. And then as you talk to consciousness, it'll let you know what the best username would be.
Or just look at the recent videos. I'm sure I mentioned my name.
Yeah. So yeah, follow us. Follow the Road to Freedom podcast as well. If you're just listening to the audio version of it, go on YouTube. Like the YouTube is the absolute best version of it. Also, too, what you'll see is that follow us on Instagram. And we have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube Shorts. So if you enjoy our content, I'm sure if you made it this long, you do. Make sure to go to these different platforms and follow us there, because you'll get to see sneak peeks of what our conversations are like today. Like for example, you'll see clips from this video today on Instagram and these different social media platforms. So to be tuned into the future episodes and stuff like that, follow us on these platforms. Also, if you enjoy this, be sure to share it with somebody who will also get the same amount of enjoyment, or somebody else to open up their mind, maybe somebody who disagrees. Be sure to like and subscribe the video. And as you already know, as all YouTubers go, since we're YouTubers now, hit the like bell with a like and the notification. Yeah.
On the left.
Notification squad. Turn on your notifications. And until next time, we will talk to you guys soon.
Whoop, whoop.
Peace out, y'all.
Yeah, I've been saying I was rich since I was broke. Yeah, it's a state of mind, you gotta know. Yeah, that is gonna happen for sure. Had to take my time, take it slow. Yeah.